Thank you for being with us today. I have a really special invite today, a guest today. She is Katie Wilkinson, and she is a quantum embodiment coach, guiding feminine leaders into six, seven figures through time collapse and quantum energetics. And I'm so curious about all these beautiful words she's using to describe her work. But first, let's welcome her here. Welcome, Katie. How are you feeling today?
Hi, Andrea. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm feeling awesome today. I just went shopping, had an amazing day. It's evening here, and I've been looking forward to this conversation honestly all day.
That's so nice, and it's so beautiful that through the power of the internet and podcasting, I get to meet with women from all around the world. I usually do my sessions over the evening because I'm from Europe, and here, when it's in the US morning, here is evening, but now it's the other way around. Here is morning, and for Katie in Australia is evening. So it's so interesting how we connected through all the time zones. And my first curious question for all the women entrepreneurs that I bring here, that I want to use their experience and their unique growing tools, so you can learn more about how to shift your money mindset, is what was your money story, Katie? What beliefs did you inherited growing up?
This is so powerful because, as many of us know, right, the stories that we adopt as children often really paint the picture for how we interact with money in our relationship with money growing up. So, I do feel really grateful and blessed to have grown up in a fairly wealthy family. So, I didn't really hear things like, we can't afford that or that's too expensive. But there was this deeply ingrained belief that you have to work hard for money. You have to hustle for money. Both my parents did that. My mum is an immigrant. She came to Australia $20,000 in debt, could barely speak English. Now she has an eight-figure business, but there was a lot of hustle and sacrifice put into that. And so that was kind of the whole mentality. They were telling like, put your head down, work harder, put in the hours. And so that really was ingrained into me, even in the way that I approached school. I would study hours and hours upon end until the point where I literally burnt out and my nervous system was just fully fried because it was just too much hustle and it wasn't in alignment with my true authentic feminine, right? I wasn't honoring that. So definitely in the beginning of my business, that money story did play a part. Like I knew that I was going to be a business owner from a young age because both my parents are business owners. I knew that money was available for me, no doubt about that. But there was still this thing of like hustle and hard work. I never worked super long hours in my business, thankfully, because getting sick, I learned that, well, I always have to prioritize my body first. But I did still have a bit of this like hustle energy, especially coming from a 9 to 5. And for a lot of us, it's really about learning to come back and getting that out of our system because a lot of us are really like addicted to this stress and this hustle and this grind. And then we step back, our body is like, oh, is something wrong? Because we've been doing it our whole lives. So yeah, it definitely did affect me a little bit. Not so much that I wasn't worthy of money or that it was, hard to come by, but definitely like money and hustle and the relationship between that. But I definitely feel like, in some ways that helped me because in the beginning, that was just the energy that propelled me in my business. But now it's just a different approach that I have.
Wow, like I took a note of a lot of things from what you said because I have so many questions and you said so many golden nuggets. First of all, I have an insight. I had an insight. I realized that, I interviewed a lot of women during my career, and I realized that in the for the women that came from high income families, that like they didn't have problems with money, they still had the you need to work hard for money. So this beliefs is showing up even for people that come from low income and for high income environments. So I feel like it's the most common belief. It's more common than the not good enough wound around money, because that appears more to if you grew up in a family with low income and you thought that money is not for you and money is evil and all those stories. So it's interesting how I discover that this is the most common. Like the hustling is so ingrained in our DNA that it's it's available to all different type of incomes, families. And you said that you got into a point of burnout in your life, in your career, right? And when was that, and how did you manage to get over that time in your life?
Yeah, so it actually happened quite young for me. So I was around 16 and I was just going so hard at school. I definitely had this thing where I placed my external worth on my grades and the validation that I got from that. I went to a private school, so it was very much like get good grades, go to a good university. This is so, so important. And I went so hard into that. And I was really, sacrificing my body, not listening to it. And on top of that, doing sports extracurricular, all of this stuff, just ignoring my own feminine and that side of myself to the point where I burnt out and I got really, really ill. And I actually had to drop out of school. Like I had chronic fatigue, could barely get out of bed. And, that was a really low point in my life, but it was also one of the most pivotal points in my life. And a lot of people go through this later on when you realize, take a step back of, whoa, what is actually important? And having such a massive, health issue arise like that really put everything into perspective and realized, what am I even working towards? Why am I working so hard for this? Do I really want to go to university and study all these things? Is it really even my own desire to begin with, or is it someone else's? And so that moment, that's when I got deeper into personal development, into spirituality. I started, taking some of these online courses, and I realized there was a whole different world out there, and that, my health, my values are really intrinsic. It's nothing to do with the external world. And so that really put me onto a different path. I didn't end up going to traditional university. I ended up studying kinesiology at a complementary college, and kinesiology is a more alternative, like natural practice alongside mind body medicine, which is really amazing. I realized I don't want to necessarily do that, but I bring a lot of the practices into my business. And so after I finished that, I went back to school as well, finished that online, then studied kinesiology. I realized I wanted to start an online coaching business. And that was birthed from, this really pivotal point of being at rock bottom, getting out of that, understanding my values and reconnecting with higher self and spirit. And so looking back, it was like that time of burnout, as so many of us are. If you speak to so many coaches or people who've gone through that journey, it was the rock bottom that now made you
Mhm.
realize what is so important, what is so of value, and it changes the trajectory of your path for good. So that's kind of my whole
Mhm.
burnout story. And now I operate so differently, and it's always body first, feminine first, feelings first, and making sure that I never have to sacrifice anything. And in fact, rather than, okay, if I rest or I take a step back, my business is going to also take a step back. I have this new belief that the more I prioritize my body and my cycle and my feminine, the bigger and quicker my business grows. Because truly, the universe wouldn't have given us these bodies to be a weakness, to be something that holds us back, to be a hindrance. So rather than thinking of it like that, recognize that, well, what if the more we prioritized our natural state of being and how we're supposed to operate and regulate nervous systems, that is actually going to propel us into even more growth.
Mm. I love that so much. And I learned that through my own burnout. Like burnouts, I feel like are such a great source of going back to the body, of an awakening from this point of view of the bodily sensation of and how you feel in the body. And it's so interesting how we live 20, 30 years in a body and we don't know how to use it. We don't know how to feel it. We don't know how to, make it the messenger of our inner world, because our body is the connection between the inner world to with the outer world. And we grow up just constantly doing harm with to it, like hustling, not sleeping, not eating correctly, all the addictions in the world. And then we end up to a point of, oh my god, my body is sick, how come? Like you just destroyed it for so many years, because we aren't taught from a young age how to work with it and how to honor it. And for me, it was the journey of embodiment sessions, of working with different teachers around the world and learning different type of dances or movements or massages, and including, like, because it helped me heal the relationship with my body and my burnout, I started to use them with my clients as well. And it's so important to have everything in our practice, like mind, body, and soul. For I started with the hypnosis. I was working with subconscious reprogramming, but I saw that the body is missing, so I introduced the body. And then I had the mind and body, but I didn't have the soul purpose, so I introduced human design. And it's so interesting, as you said, that from these low points, personal low points in our lives, we learned tools that then we introduce in our practice, and it becomes like our signature. And it's so interesting how women entrepreneurs have this super skill to do this with our challenges. And I'm so curious, what are your practices with the body? You said like kineology, because you had a degree on that. You also said like feminine practices. What other practices do you include to work with the body?
Yeah. So for me, when it comes to the body and understanding the feminine, it's like the body is just this vessel we get to express. It's a conduit for energy and emotions. And so, I see a lot of practices out there about stillness, and stillness can be really powerful because we're always moving. But it's also realizing that when the body moves, the mind is able to be still. And so I actually love now more movement meditations, feminine embodiment work, where it's like feeling your body, worshiping your body, womb meditations, or womb worship, or breast massages, all of that. We're just able to connect in. And I actually have embodiment workshops which I bring my clients through whenever we feel stuck or stagnant or not able to process something in the mind. We drop deeper and I get them to move, and it's not necessarily a dance, but it's like, how does the energy want to be expressed through my body? And we use that as a portal to alchemize. So those are definitely some of my favorite embodiment practices, because the body holds so much wisdom, but it's not prioritizing pleasure all the time. So embodiment practices, yeah, you might see, a woman touching herself and feeling sensual and pleasurable and like, circling her hips, but it can also look like divine rage, throwing a pillow and screaming and crying and like this inner darkness, because it is all so potent and it is also relevant, whatever is coming up in this moment. And you need to be able to be open to all sensations. So it's not like it has to look a certain way. We have to tap into a certain emotion. It's more, what emotion is coming up right now for you that is relevant in this moment. And so
Mm.
if we close ourselves off and numb ourselves to the pain, to the shadow, to the dark parts of us, we also close ourselves off to great pleasure and prosperity and sensuality and power, right? Because feeling is feeling, expressive is expressive. You cannot selectively choose to close one part off of that portal. And so when you understand this, you're no longer avoiding or forcing yourself into a so-called high vibe state. You recognize that inside of the shadow and the pain actually lies deep codes of wisdom for pleasure. And it's all actually two sides of the same spectrum. We get to dance with it all. So it's just about, feeling what is arising in this present moment.
Oh my God, I love that so much. Inside the shadow, there is pleasure, and I used to meditate every day for years, and at some point I started experiencing anxiety, especially when I started my business. It was everything so unknown for me, and I had so much stress in my life. Like I quit my job because I was forced to do. They cut my our salaries, and then I took a loan from the bank. I didn't had any plan, and I started my business, and I felt so constant stress to get clients and make the money until they are all gone from my bank account. And I experienced a lot of anxiety, and I discovered that when I meditated, it was worse. I was overthinking and having all those thoughts, negative thoughts in my mind, and enhancing them for the rest of the day. So that's when I got into the dark alchemy phase. And instead of meditating, I was like just playing like, rock songs and like really aggressive songs. And I was throwing pillows all over the house and kicking my feet, stopping my feet on the ground, and be angry and be express the fear, express whatever was like. I was waking up with so much fear and anger, and this is not fair, why is not working for me and for others, and the victim role and all those um, dark, as you said, shadows, that if we don't face them, if we don't encounter them and we release them, then they are stuck with us in the body, and for years they lead to diseases, they lead to disconnection from the body, they lead for us to not feel pleasure anymore. So dark alchemy for me, it changed my life. Like it healed my anxiety. It helped me to take my power back from the victim, from all these roles of outside. And it helped me to build a business, as you said, a business that feels good in my body. Like I work a few hours per day, and I love that we were talking, and we were supposed to plan the podcast, and you said like, I don't work on Friday. And I was like, yes, that's exactly it. Like I'm working now to create only Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and not work Monday on or Friday, because I feel like that's where the most conditioning from the previous 9 to 5 are. Like on Monday, I tend to overwork a lot, because that's when I used to start my job and to do all the plans for the week and everything. And I want to do decondition that, and like just leave my Monday free, and maybe do a massage and do some self-care and start and when I do this, when I take this day to do practices, I have such a good and potent way ahead, and I'm really creative, and it's a beautiful journey, but it takes a little bit of time to decondition. I only quit 2 years ago, so I feel like it's take a little bit more time. And I'm curious, how for how many years do you have your business?
So it's about 2 years now. And that's also when, yeah, I quit my 9 to 5 on a whim and just started my business. So it's been an amazing journey. Yeah, similar to you.
So similar to mine. I was curious, beside embodiment practices, what other things helped you to really move the needle in your money mindset? What healing did you, it worked for you around money?
Yeah. So for me, in the beginning, I delved a lot into money mindset on unlocking, certain limiting beliefs and all of that. But when I went deeper, and especially in my quantum work, I realized everything is a deeper relationship. It's not just what you think about money. So mindset is all about your thoughts, but it is really about your relationship, about your feelings, about how you show up, how you interact with money. And so this is where I bring in my quantum embodiment practices. And so there's embodiment in the sense of, doing the body work, but I also use quantum embodiment, which is essentially my way of quantum leaping. So it's accessing that higher version of you inside of the quantum, in that dimension, who is living the life of your desires now. And she exists in this now moment. And so rather than necessarily trying to change my thoughts around money, the biggest shifts came when I started to embody the wealthy woman. Because the thing is, there needs to be a congruency between your thoughts and your state of being. So you could be thinking all you want, I'm a millionaire, I am wealthy, I'm worthy of money, but deep inside in your nervous system, you don't feel that way. And so that's why it's really important to make sure that our body and our states of being are actually on the same level. And so this is where I notice myself. It's like I could actually have a thought of doubt, have a thought of lack, but yet I'm still occupying a state of abundance. And so it's really where I notice, like, where in my energy field am I embodying lack? Because in order to be wealthy, it's not just about money, it's really just about lack or abundance. You're either showing up in one of these states, right? So it's like the way, you shop, you buy your food, you spend your money. Are you grateful, or are you like, spending with closed fists and really reluctant and resistant to do that? All of these different things, and realizing that wealth is a state of being that I can choose to access in any moment. That in
Mm.
reality, I don't have to wait for the figures in my bank account to show up before it gives me permission, or I give myself permission to show up as the wealthy woman. So that's where I really tuned in. It's like, well, if I can decide to tune into wealth, if I, imagine that tomorrow I would receive $1 million, and I could tune into that energy. So that is a state of being that I get to choose all of the time. And so it's just ironing out those kinks and shifting my energy to one of lack and one of, I am waiting for wealth to show up before I am abundant. I am going to, have to work hard in all of these conditions to, I am wealthy now. I get to receive $1 million now. I'm good enough. And that there are no conditions or constructs that, change the way that I need to receive. So money actually doesn't care about anything. It just cares that you are open. It doesn't care who you are. Money doesn't have a bias. It doesn't care how hard you work, because that means the, working class of society would be the richest, when that isn't the case. It doesn't care about any of these things. It doesn't care how spiritually evolved you are. All money cares about is that you're available to receive it. Money wants to be in your world. Money desires you. But are you actually saying that you're enough in this now moment to receive? So that's when it changed the whole game for me, because I realized money's just digits. It's just paper. And we're glorifying it, putting it on a pedestal. Oh my goodness, 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures. It's literally just another zero on the end. And so when I just saw it for what it is, it's just energy. How can I just now energetically become a match for that? Because that's how we quantum leap. The amount of time it takes for you to quantum leap is the amount of time it takes for you to be an energetic match for that desire.
Oh my God, you're awesome. I love how you said that. And you're right. Like one of with all the tens of thousands of tools I tried in my healing journey, like the most basic and the one that did the hugest shift was like just every night and every morning, when the subconscious is in the most susceptible state and we are able to learn on a deeper level and feel it in our bodies, like before going to sleep and when I woke up, I was just thinking, when I didn't have any money left in my bank account and I didn't have any clients, like I was at the point of desperation and I was like, I will try one more time, but I will be really committed to my business and I will put all my thoughts and emotions and energies in it, and let's see what's, because I don't have anything to lose anymore. And I was, even if I didn't have anything, every night and every morning I was thinking about all the things that I have in my life, like the love from my partner, the house that we have, my clothes, my jewelry. Instead of focusing, oh my God, I don't have money, I don't have clients, I don't have, my business is not working, I switch and thinking about the things that I have instead of not having in my life, and thinking about all the abundance in the world, and that nature is abundant. And I was like tuning into that feeling of abundance every single day, and that helped me to start attracting clients and money. That was the hugest, like the biggest shift for me, just tuning into abundance, as you say, like just being. Abundance is a state of being, and when you're in that state of being, you're a match for abundance, for more abundance to come to you. When you're focusing on the fact that you don't have those goals, you're still not at the six figure, you still have work to do, and this comes from the not good enough one, because I'm not good enough, I need to work more, the work I'm doing is not enough. And this story is keeping us, unfortunately, in the scarcity, as you said. So now that you introduced us a little bit in your work of quantum business and quantum alignment and quantum embodiment, I would love to know more, is what is quantum business for you and what is quantum energetics? What are these beautiful terms that you're using to describe your work?
Yes. So for me, quantum energetics is essentially what I was talking about before, right? Our reality like we are not a byproduct of our reality. Our reality is a reflection of the state of being that we are constantly occupying. And so I recognized this. And when I went into business, I saw all these people saying, well, you need to utilize this strategy and show up in this certain way and use this copy and paste formula or script. But in reality, if everything is a reflection of our state of being and it's constantly responding to us every second, literally atoms and molecules rearrange and are influenced by our energy, then essentially if we want to quantum leap into a certain result, a certain figure or amount of business success, then all we need to do is become a match for that. And so that's essentially my process that I bring people through, whether it is business or money or a relationship. Most of the time for my clients, it is, going to 6 and 7 figures in business. It's about aligning and attuning. Well, whatever your reality is right now, it is confirming your state of being. So if you continue with that state of being, it'll continue to be reflected back to you. If you desire a change, you need to first create an internal shift. And so if you can embody that 7 figure business owner, then that will be reflected back to you. It doesn't matter what strategy you use. In fact, you could implement all the strategies that you want. But if you aren't embodying that version of you, forget about it, because the reality, again, it reflects your state of being, not the strategy that you are using. So it is so incredibly powerful. And we're able to really go through all the different areas. In what ways am I not showing up as her? In what ways am I continuing to affirm my current reality? What am I anticipating? What is my energy frequency and my energy field? Is it one of expansiveness and spaciousness, or is it one of contraction and scarcity and lack? So it's continuing to compound that energy and be available for reality that is beyond our physical 3D. Because the physical 3D, when we can sense with our 5 senses, is just a tiny portion of what actually exists out there. There's so much beyond what we can see and hear and think. That $20,000, that $50,000, you might not be able to see it right now, but in an instant, in a second, it can drop in. And so you have to be able to hold on to that energy of knowing deep inside the reality that you are creating, because it has nothing to do with your past, and not even your physical 3D reality right now can dictate where you are deciding to go or who are you deciding to be. That is your responsibility. Your state of being is your choice. Your state of being is not a byproduct of your reality. Your physical 3D reality cannot make you feel anything. All your state of being and emotions is generated by you. And so we have to show up first as that person. It's just really powerful when we're able to bring it back and recognize that we are the ultimate creator of our reality, and we can choose whichever dimension or parallel reality we get to step into.
Hmm. I love that so much. Your work seems so powerful, and I'm sure that you're impacting and you will impact the life of so many women entrepreneurs. And what are your current offerings? Like, I saw that you sometimes offer embodiment workshops. Do you have a group program, individual program, one-to-one? What is your offerings? And for the links, don't worry, I will put them into the podcast descriptions. So just a vibe of what your current offerings are.
Yes. So for many people, they like to enter my world through my signature masterclass, and that is quantum attraction. It is really the quantum physics behind manifestation. If you want to learn the science behind all of this, it's a great place to start, $111. I also have my quantum collective, which is really the all-in access pass for those of you who want to get access to my monthly masterclasses that I drop. We also have monthly guest healing sessions, which is all about that nervous system regulation, and you also get a hot seat coaching call with me every single month. Otherwise, my high level container would be my magnetic mastermind. And this is where we ascend to multiple 6 figures, and we really do that deep quantum energetic work and realign in all the areas of our business while still honoring our feminine and our nervous system. And that is a hybrid of group and private coaching. I also have one-on-one as well, but those are my main offerings and ways in which you can play in my world.
I love that. Your offering sounds so good, and I'm going to add the links in the podcast description for everything you said, and for your Instagram, for the women listening to us to go and follow your work. It was a really pleasure to talk to you today and to see how our work are so similar but yet so different, and how our unique signature like transcends towards the tools that we're using to shift the money mindset in the world collectively. And thank you for being with me today, Katie, and thank you for listening to us. And as a last question, I love to ask, like, what would be one advice that you want to offer to someone that is now struggling with their money mindset? They feel it, they are doing all the work, maybe they're implementing all the strategies, but something still blocks them. What piece of advice can you offer?
Money is constantly responding to you, and it doesn't matter what has happened in the past. What matters is your commitment to who you are deciding to be in this very moment. You're not blocked. Nothing is, broken or needs fixing. The moment you think you're blocked, you are. Recognize that right now, this very second, there are billions of dollars flowing through the internet in which you are listening to this podcast episode. And if you so decide, then a couple thousand of that can land in your bank account. But you have to realize that I am enough and you can receive in this now moment. You could have gone, 30 days of the month and receive $0, but on the last day you receive 100,000. You have to continue holding on to that energy, because when nothing is known, everything is possible.
What a beautiful closing thought. Thank you so much for this inspiring motto and manifesto you offered, Katie. I appreciate you, your work, and your time. And thank you for being here. And thank you for listening to us. I will add all the links in the description and see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.